Mary had a little lamb. The doctors were surprised, but old MacDonald had a farm and he fainted.
Okay. Why did you want to become a fireman?
Well, to help people, the challenge of learning new things, uh, seeing that the fire department, uh, the individuals in the fire department, what type of people they are, because I heard an old saying one time that there's nothing stronger than the heart of a volunteer, and seeing the people that I've been around and worked with over the years, I believe that.
What was it like for you to get to become a paid fireman?
Oh, I was excited about it. The fact that after I got all my training, my firefighter one and everything that was required, when I was asked to come on as paid, that was real exciting.
And so you're paid with two different departments?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. What's like the coolest call you think you've ever been on? Like what's a call that just really stands out in your mind?
I got to say the one that Brian and I worked here not long ago. It was a cardiac arrest. We arrived on scene and initiated CPR, and by the time Acadian got there, we got a heartbeat.
Okay, what's like one of the craziest things you think you've ever done in your life?
Craziest things, I would have to say join the military.
Okay, what's like if you had unlimited funds and you just got to, there's just one thing that you've always wanted to do in your lifetime that you've never gotten to do, what would it be? Funds are no, money's no object. Just, is there ever like some experience you've ever wanted to experience or something you've ever wanted to do that you haven't been able to do?
Go diving in Cozumel.
Diving in Cozumel. Have you ever, do you go?
I dive.
You do dive? My son does too. Where's some cool places that you've been diving in?
I've just been to the Gulf mainly, yeah, off the coast of Florida, and
have you ever been in the Caribbean at all?
no. One thing I like, my son doesn't like it. He's on the dive team also, but he doesn't like the black water, and the black water doesn't bother me. It's kind of different, soothing.
All right, how did 9/11 affect you?
Angry. As a matter of fact, I was going through inspector school at LSU, and instructor came in and said something about the one of the towers fell. Well, we didn't think nothing about that. A plane flew into it, and then he came back and said another plane flew into the second one. Well, everybody cleared it. And as I was watching the clips of the live feed coming through the TV, it was very upsetting, angry that somebody could do this, and unbelievable.
And what did you think about when you saw those firefighters?
The best way I can describe that is I'm gonna have it painted on the back of my car. It's a mural, and it shows came out right after 9/11. Shows a fireman with his head down, and it looks like he's sobbing, and two angels on his shoulder.
Yep. All right, cool deal. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chauvin, here's my question. What made you decide to become a volunteer firefighter?
I knew Elmer Nab, and he was a good friend of my dad's. And he invited me up to the station to go look at the trucks. And when I saw what was going on, I decided I wanted to be a part of it.
And what's it like to be a firefighter?
Words can't describe it. When you experience the saving of a person's life or helping save their home, the reward that you feel, words can't even begin to describe the feeling it is. It's wonderful.
Okay, what's like one of the calls that really stands out in your mind? What's like a call that you've run that really stands out in your mind?
We had a Dodge Dakota under an 18-wheeler, and the guy was pinned in. Took us a little over 2 hours to extricate, and the people operating extrication tools all received the Green Cross from Hearst Tools for showing that we saved a life using the tools.
All right, what's one of the craziest things you've ever done?
That's a good question.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm scared of what your answer might be. If what's something that you've always wanted to do in your life? Money's no object. Money's no object. If there was one thing that you could do right now, it didn't matter. Money's no object. What's like your big fantasy?
right now, I would say being able to buy my grandfather's T model.
Okay. And how did 9/11 affect you? What was going through your mind at the day that happened?
I was at work, and the first building had collapsed, and I was watching it live on TV, and I was watching them go into the second building. And when I saw the second building collapse live on TV, you know, everybody was thinking about all the people worked in the building just got killed. And the first thing ran through my mind, all those firefighters that put their life on the line for the people they didn't know, they just died.
And how did that affect you?
When I saw that, I had tears in my eyes, and I just felt for all those families who lost loved ones. I mean, especially the firemen, because I knew that they were going in there to save others, and they gave their life doing what they worked for.
And what does firefighting mean to you? What if one day you couldn't do it anymore? Something happened and you couldn't do it anymore?
That has happened to me for 2 years. I was on medical leave and wasn't able to do it, and when I wasn't able to do it, it was like someone reached in and ripped my heart out. I mean, I sat around the house, was depressed, and it killed me. When the doctor told me I could return to work and return to firefighting, I felt like a new person again.
Okay, what made you want to become a volunteer firefighter?
I got married in a volunteer fire department about a month before I joined the department. And the place where I worked, everybody had either been a fireman or still a volunteer fireman. And a lot of people were telling me, you can't handle it, it's not something you really want to do, so naturally I had to try it. And I've been doing it ever since. I've been doing it about 5 years now.
And what's it mean to you to be a volunteer fireman?
It's a feeling of fulfillment. It's something to do. A lot of times we don't have nothing to do, and wait and help other people. If you've ever been in a store and had the little girl come up and hug your neck for the simplest little thing you did at her house, you know, it's a good feeling.
And what's the most memorable call you've ever been on? What call just really sticks out in your mind?
That'd be my first bad call that happened on, actually on Lockhart Road. It was caused by another fireman that had been drinking from another area. A little girl died in that call. No, that was a hard one. I think everybody had a hard one, that one.
And what keeps you going after something like that?
Knowing that somebody has to be able to do it.
All right. What's like a wish that, or a fantasy or something, say money is no object, and an experience, because you experience so much as a firefighter, what's something that you've always wanted to be able to experience in your life, but you haven't had the opportunity to? Money is not an object.
Flying a helicopter.
Flying a helicopter. Fly in at one or fly it yourself?
Well, I've always wanted to be able to fly, but just being able to go on a nice long ride, I've never been able to do it. I've always wanted to fall down and break my leg so I can get an air med, so. But we can't do that. We need to be helping somebody else.
So like an air med or just any helicopter?
Air med would be fun.
All right. Okay. How did 9/11 affect you? What was going through your mind when all that was happening?
Actually, I worked in a chemical plant at the time, right behind an airport. So that the plane's crashing and they coming over the TV saying that these planes have been hijacked. And they asked who wanted to get out of the plane. Naturally, I raised my hand. And then the thought that all the firemen were going up into the tower, they described how long it took, fully geared up, to get up one flight of stairs, and they had made it up to like 30 flights. They had been doing this for 30 minutes. The thought that we might get put under those same conditions, not the same way, not in a tower, but not knowing when you're going to come home.
And what What did you think about those firefighters who put their life on the line to do that?
They did it without regard. They put somebody else's life before theirs.
And how'd that affect you just thinking about it as a firefighter yourself?
It scares you.
And that's all I wanted to do.
Clint wanted to run
Okay.
the lakes.
What made you get interested in the fire?
Oh, are we
department?
taping now?
Yeah.
Well, a neighbor bought me, a neighbor who joined the fire department. I went over there with him, and I thought it was cool that I could run red lights and blow through traffic lights. That was my first thought. But then as time went on, I realized that there's people out there that need me and people like me. And over the last 17 years, I've seen that I did the right thing, because there's people that needed help that wouldn't have got it had it not been for people like us.
Right. And so what keeps you volunteering? What keeps you going? Because sometimes you see calls that just, you know, people wonder why we do what we do. How can you do that day in and day out? What keeps you going?
The
What
fact
keeps you
that the people I've met in this fire department, and they're friends of mine, and we all do it together, and we help support each other, and I wouldn't leave it because of them.
Okay, and you have a unique thing. That's really why I wanted to ask you.
Here comes the sucker point.
I know, I'm sorry. Right now, you can't do, what did it mean to you, because I asked Donnie this too. Y'all are unique because y'all were paid firefighters. What did it mean to you? You had been a volunteer for so many years. What did it mean to you when you finally got the opportunity to be able to become a paid fireman? Because so many volunteers don't get that opportunity.
I thought that I was finally going to get to do something I loved for a living, but I found out that's not true. You never want to do that. If you fish for a hobby, never do it for a living, because you'll come to hate it.
You come to hate it. And what does it mean to you right now that since you've lost your job from your injury, how has that affected you as far as the firefighting goes? I mean, I know that's a hard experience for you right now.
Losing my paid firefighting job didn't bother me that much. Losing my leg, or use of my leg, and the fact that I can't be out there with these people, and I probably never will, that hurts me a lot. It's probably more than I can explain to you.
Right, right. And that's why I wanted to ask you. You've got more in this than most people. Okay. I'm asking questions because as volunteer firefighters, we make different decisions. And 9/11, remember when that happened? How did that affect you? What did you think that day when that happened?
At first, about the first 20 minutes, I said this is some kind of a air traffic controlling accident. And I guess when the second plane hit, I really don't know how to put it into words other than to say something really, really bad is about to happen, and this wasn't it. That's all I can say. Something really bad in the world is about to happen, and this isn't it. This is just the start.
What did you think when you really realized what was going on, and how did you feel about those firefighters? I mean, being a firefighter.
Let me tell you this. My old boss, where I used to work at the hardware store, called me that morning, and he said, and he asked me, how are they going to put that out? I said, well, they're going to have to go up in the building and put it out. And he just couldn't believe, you know, he's from a rural area like us, and he said, you mean they're actually going in the building? I said, yeah, Steve, that's what firefighters do. You know, you see them in the newspaper and you see a guy on the outside spraying hose on the inside, but as a spectator, you don't know what's going on at a fire until you've been a fireman. And I guess a couple hours later I was thinking about that, all those firemen in that building. When it fell, I said, there went a bunch of firemen, not to mention all the civilians in there.
And like,
yeah,
if you could talk to those firefighters, some of those that survived and went in, like, what would you say to them, or what would you want to ask them? I mean, you know,
I know what I would ask them. If they knew that was going to happen again, would they do it again? Because I don't know if I could I don't know if I can make myself do that.
Right.
for somebody to risk their life to save one other, that's the ultimate sacrifice. I don't know if I could do that.
And what's the most memorable call you've ever run? What's the one that just really stands out in your mind?
It was Signal 20I on Wax Road.
Oh, I remember that one.
You were there.
Yeah. Tell me what was going through your mind.
I done got into something I don't know what to deal with, how to deal with. Had one person that was dead or almost dead. Another one on top on the hood of the car screaming, and two more in the back that weren't making any noise at all, but they were conscious. And I went straight to the one that was making the most noise, and as it turns out, he was the one that was hurt the least. And the guy behind the wheel died, and what really got to me later on, weeks later, is I realized I never went around and actually checked to see if that man was dead. I took somebody else's word, a deputy, and that bothered me. And it affected me later on too.
Okay.
That's enough about that.
What's okay, and I'm asking everybody kind of fantasy things too. What's like one of the just something that you've always wanted to do that you've never been able to do? Money is no object. If somebody asked you today, if I could send you anywhere in the world or let you do any experience that you've ever wanted to experience in your life, what would it be?
I don't know. I've always been my world is just what's immediately around me. I've never really thought about it. I can't answer that.
Just you don't have anything that, like, I know one of them was to ride in a helicopter was a big deal for them.
I've never really had any big far off dreams. Everything has been right here.
Right
So
here.
I don't know. I guess this is it. I'm here. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, cool. Okay, what made you want to become a volunteer fireman?
Well, I guess I have to say, when I was born, my dad was a volunteer fire department, the same fire department I was in, and just watching him, I mean, he used to let me ride in the fire trucks with him, running Code 3, and just getting to the fires, and I mean, they all had big hoses. They throw me a little Indian pack, and I get to run around just squirting water everywhere, and it just kind of came naturally to me.
Okay. What keeps you in the fire department today? I mean, what keeps you going?
The people I meet, the people I have met through the fire department, I mean, I got closer relationships than people I knew my whole life now with these people.
Okay. What's a call that really stands out in your mind? What's the one that just is really there always in the back of your mind?
The one that stands out in my mind the most, I wasn't a firefighter yet, but I was standing in the back of my dad's truck, and it was Calvary Baptist Church. I remember watching fire truck after fire truck pull in one after another. It seemed like it went on for 3 or 4 days, even though it was just 16 hours. And there's another car that kind of stands out. It was on Wax Road, and she wasn't hurt bad, but it was a girl I was real close to. And just weeks before that, my first responder class, my teacher told me, before this is over with, you will see somebody you know in an accident. And just seeing her in the accident, she wasn't hurt bad. It just hit me in my heart where nothing else I ever have.
It's different.
It's
than
different,
somebody,
yeah.
isn't it? I know, I've had that. Okay, how did 9/11 affect you? What did you think when you saw, what was going through your mind when all that was going on?
Well, when we first heard about it, I mean, I just thought it was a freak accident, just something happened. And then the second plane hit the second tower, and that's when I realized this ain't no accident. Somebody planned for this to happen. And I mean, I was sad. I knew the firefighters were going in, and then they started talking about how it was an attack on the United States, and that it was kind of a mixed emotion between sad and fighting mad. I mean, I kept going both ways the whole time.
And what did you think about those firefighters when you heard how many firefighters died and about what they did?
I mean, I can't explain how they do it. I mean, there's only one word, and that's courage. I mean, them firefighters knew what they were going into, but they knew that was their job, and it's just courage explained it all. I mean, that's the only word I can say for it.
All right. As firefighter, you get to fulfill a lot of your dreams. You know, that was kind of your dream to do wild and crazy things. But what's something else that you've always wanted to experience that you hadn't? Because, I mean, we experience some crazy stuff every day going in and out of fires and putting, you know, going
Yeah.
and when everybody else is running away, we're running towards it. So, like, what's something you've always wanted to experience but hadn't got the chance to?
Man, there's so many of them.
Name Name them all.
I don't know. I've always wanted to go across the sea to a different country. Just go. I mean, I don't care. Actually, Hawaii. That's one place that I've always
Not a
wanted.
different country.
Well, across the sea, then.
And so
it's
it's
just-
just to see somewhere else.
yeah, somewhere.
Is it more to see a different culture or more to just see a different?
I want to see a different tropic. I want to be in the sun and not in no Grand Isle sun. Somewhere where I can. The beaches are nice. It's white sand, clear water, and just get to go swim with the sharks or whatever over there.
Okay. What's your other experiences?
I don't know. That's it. That's my main one.
Okay. All right. What got you to become a volunteer? What got you interested in volunteering? Just talk to me. It's just me and you talking.
You gotta stop. Y'all gotta stop.
What they doing? Making faces at you? All right. What makes you want to become a volunteer? What makes you do this?
My husband.
Okay. And why do you keep doing it? Because, I mean, if you didn't like it, you wouldn't do it with him anymore, right?
We don't do it.
Why do you keep doing it? Because there's plenty of wives out there that don't come out with their husbands and do this. So what makes you keep doing it? Because there's got to be something in it for you, not just because your husband's doing it.
I don't know, but if
Okay, y'all behave. Quit making faces at her so she can talk. All right, go ahead. Turn around.
ask me that question again, please.
Okay, what makes you? Okay, what makes you keep doing this? Because I know other wives do not come out and do this with their husbands. So what makes you keep doing it? What keeps you doing this? Go ahead. Come on, you can do this.
Stage fright.
We're just talking. Me and you. Look at me. Why you keep doing it? There's a reason.
For Karen, I care for people. Plus, all my friends are there.
And
I love to be around them.
okay, what if you run a really bad call? What keeps you doing that again? I mean, you some of our calls are really bad. So what keeps you doing it?
It's something you have to overcome. You have to just go do it because there's nobody else that will do it.
Okay. What call stands out in your mind the most that you've been on?
I hate to say this, but it's the one at Adel where the fingers got cut off.
Okay, and what makes that call stand out to you?
It's just something I've never seen before.
Right. And how did it affect you?
It was actually cool.
We're weird like that. What was cool about it? Just because you'd never seen it before? What made it cool?
It's just something different, something I'm not used to. It was
Okay,
the
and how
excitement.
what did y'all do for that poor person? What did y'all do for him?
Don't put me on the
No,
spot.
no, it's okay. All right, we'll go to something else. then.
Yeah, please.
9/11. How did 9/11 affect you? What did you think when all that was going on?
It was scary because my husband's a firefighter and just think something like that happened to them.
Brought home reality,
Yeah.
didn't it? Would it and how did you feel about those firefighters doing what they did?
Brave, courageous.
And if you had the opportunity to say something to those firefighters, what would it be? What would you ask them? What would you say to them?
That's kind of hard. That's hard.
I mean, like, what would be the first thing you'd want to ask them?
Would you do it again? That's like they said. Would you do it again? It's
Do you think you could do that?
no,
Okay.
scary.
All right.
Too scary. I'm a scary
as
person.
firefighters, we do some pretty crazy stuff, and we have some crazy fantasies, and of course, we fulfill a lot of our fantasies
Okay.
through firefighting. So, what's something that you've always wanted to do or experience or see or whatever that you've never had the opportunity to do?
I would love to go on a cruise. Just relaxing, without no kids, no husband, just me,
Just you.
just me.
Just take a
Away.
cruise, just
Get away.
Unstressed. Aye. What made you become a volunteer firefighter?
Actually, that's pretty funny. I never really thought about it before. I was actually doing my taxes, and I met Chief's wife. And she heard me talking to another lady about what I do and where I lived at, and she said, well, you know, we do volunteer work at the fire department. You ought to come on by. And she told me when the Monday night meetings were, and I was like, all right, well, I'll stop by there. The first Monday night that time, though, I had to work over, so I wasn't able to make it. But then I came the next time. And
Okay, what got you hooked then? Something had to stand out to get you to come back. What got you to come back?
well, the people seemed, you know, pretty nice and everything. And actually, I thought what volunteer firefighting was, you know, you get a shirt like this, and you go and you direct traffic or something at a scene or whatever. And after they took my application and the next meeting that I went to, at the end of the meeting, I went upstairs with Philip. They said, go upstairs with Philip and they'll give you your stuff. And they started pulling out gear and a badge and all that stuff. I was like, thinking in my head, I think I even told somebody, I said, you know, I'm not working here, right? I'm just volunteering. And they gave me all that stuff, and I was like, oh, this is cool.
Okay,
So,
what keeps you here? Now that you're doing it, what keeps you doing it?
the people. I don't really go out anywhere or do anything like that. I'm not wild like I used to be. And so I go up like with Randy. We'll sit up, Randy and Brian will sit up at the fire station and play guitar and talk. Matter of fact, Randy, what was it, 3 weeks ago? Me and him and Don were up at the station till 3 o'clock in the morning talking. Yeah, deep stuff. And I had to go to work in the morning, but we still stayed there till 3. And so, I mean, it's fun.
Okay, I know you haven't been in very long. Is there a call that you've run so far that really stands out in your mind?
There is one. Is a trailer fire. When we got there, it wasn't too bad. It was just in the front of the trailer. We saved most of the trailer, but me and Howdy went in. They had 2 dogs that we found in the back that died. That really didn't affect me that much, but the thought of the fire didn't even get close to the back bedroom. It was just the smoke and everything that killed them, and how easy that could have been, that it could have been people back there.
Right.
And so that was.
Okay. 9/11. How'd that affect you? Of course, you were not a firefighter at the time, were you?
No.
Okay.
I was.
What were you thinking when this is good, because now
Yeah.
I got somebody on a different thought pattern here. What did you think when you saw 9/11?
I was actually out of town working, and I woke up late to go to work, and I was on my way in. I was doing safety out there, and someone called me from the plant, or no, it was my boss from back home called me and said, hey, you know, if they send y'all home, shut down the plant and everything, just, you know, telling me what to do. And I was like, okay. I just agreed with him. I hung up the phone and I immediately called the plant. I said, what's going on out there, emergency or something? They said, no, I think it has something to do with the planes that crashed in New York. And I thought the guy was just crazy. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I said, I'll be there in a minute. And I shut my phone and I headed out there. And then that's when I walked in the office and they were listening to it on the radio. And I didn't know what to think at first. So I'm at work for 12 hours. I didn't get to see anything on TV or nothing. All I could do was listen to the radio. And once I got home at night, I saw the pictures of everything that happened. And it was, I couldn't really believe it.
What do you think about those firefighters? I know for us, we were firefighters at the time, so that really stood out to us. But did that even stand out in your mind, not being a firefighter at the time, those people?
Yeah, to think, you know, somebody would run into a building like that, you know, without even giving a second thought. And a matter of fact, I think the first tower, did they fall shortly after, or did they fall together?
One fell and then the other one fell.
Yeah, but I think they were running in, you know, when all that stuff was going on. And I was just, you know, that's very brave. And
now that you are a firefighter, does it change your opinion of what they did? Do you think more about it now than you did that day? Does it kind of...
Well, that was one, when I first got on, I was wondering what would happen when I got on a scene. You know, because when you get into a situation like that, you never you don't know what you're going to do until you're put in that situation. And that's when I go to a call, I really don't know what to think. I'm listening to people like Kenny or somebody that's on the scene that's an officer, and I'm just tell me what to do and, put me in there.
Okay. If you ever got the opportunity to become a paid firefighter and make the salary you make, would you do it?
In a heartbeat. Yep, I wouldn't think twice about it.
You think you would like that as a career?
Even if it was a little bit less money than I made, I think I'd still do it.
Okay. What's your wild dream? Something that you've always wanted to experience that you haven't?
2 girls and oh, never mind. Just a joke. Yeah, 4 aces. I got the 4 nines and the 4 queens. Honestly,
Nothing you've ever wanted to do? Jump out of a plane, skydive, deep sea.
Deep sea fishing. That's what I've always wanted to do. I want to catch a fish bigger than me. That is definitely something I read about it all the time. People pulling in these fish that are several hundred pounds or more. Yeah, that's exactly what I'd love to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there.
Because I'd forgotten about it. I mean, it's not that I forgot about it, but it's not the most recent, and that's pretty much what I was thinking about. Are you ready?
Okay, what's the most memorable call that stands out in your mind?
My first fatality. It was 3 teenagers in a Trans Am, and they were just out riding like most teenagers do, and they went to go get some beer, and on their way back they had been playing with this curve, and they were getting faster and faster and faster each time, and the last time they went off of the curve and went like 14 feet up in a tree and then landed on the ground upside down. 2 of them were ejected, and 1 was killed instantly, and the other one, when the car landed, the car had T-tops, and he was cut in half by the T-top brace in the middle. And I remember that night I passed the wreck and never saw it. I was coming back from the races with my dad, and I took him home, and back then he lived in a different place, and while I was at his house, a pager went off, and I said, well, shoot, I just passed there. So I said, come on, let's go. So we went, and it was just like a quarter mile away, and I went there, and some of the other firemen were already there, and I saw this car that was upside down. So I walked up, and I saw the district chief at the time, and I said, hey, Jim, what we got? He said, we got a 10-7. And I remember that. It scared me to the point, because I'd never seen a body before, and it scared me to the point that I actually turned and walked off to my right. Well, when I turned and walked off to my right, I tripped over another body, and I got up and just started walking back to where my dad was standing. And when I got over there, he said, what's wrong? I said, Daddy, there's 2 or 3 dead people up there. And I was like 25 at the time, and he said, well, don't they need you up there? And I said, I don't know. He grabbed me on the back and kind of pushed me. He said, go on, I think they need you up there. I'm glad he did that, because I might have quit the fire department right then. But for months and even years later, I would see those people, like, get up in the middle of the night, go get something to drink or go to the restroom, and all 3 of them be looking at me through my bedroom window, or I would even see them in Walmart, or I'd be driving down the road and I would see 3 people walking, and just with that glance, that's those guys. And until that show Rescue Me came out, I never thought about packing your ghost around with you. I'm like, well, shoot, I've been doing that, you know. And that's not the most, not the incident that sticks out in my mind the most, but it's probably the one that haunts me the most.
And so what kept you going in the fire service after that, though? Because then that had to have really affected you. What got you to come back the next day after that?
You develop kind of a short-term memory that you can put a lot of that stuff in the back of your mind. But I was at a young age, and I didn't realize, and that's what I didn't realize that night, you know, hey, this stuff is business. this is something that is going to affect your life. And I never realized that, before that day, I never realized that somebody has to go to those things and somebody has to pull those dead bodies out. And that's when I probably realized that this is the closest thing to being alive that I'm ever going to be, because it reminds me every day that being alive is, I don't know how to answer that, but what I'm trying to say is, what I said a while ago, that I didn't really have any far off dreams. I guess what I'm trying to say is I appreciate life because I've seen so much death. I mean, that's it.
All right. Did you come up with something you really would want to do?
No.
Some crazy something like that?
No.
Hey, go to ground zero.
You know what?
Have a good time.
I kind of got
Take
too
it,
far
girls,
to
at
go
ground
pull the
zero.
shirt up.
Now you got the right idea.
Hey!
You got, you're not. I just said something. Take that out.
I'm gonna take it out. I'm gonna take it out. No. I said I can video and stand it out.
He's eating again.
I was training him.
What you talking about? He's still a rookie.
Let him do it on camera. Come on.
Hey, I ain't eating my apple.
That's okay.
Can't eat an apple on tape. I chased Jim Gould's ass all around that parking lot. Chris Barnes like, you need to calm down.
Melanie thought we were both dead.
Chris is like, you need to calm. I said, no, I'm gonna kill that son of a bitch.
Yeah, you see that trailer park there?
Okay.
Right.
Become a firefighter. What made you become one?
Because in 1985, my house caught on fire, and we didn't have a fire department. And I waited 20 minutes for the city of Denham Springs to show up. By the time they got there, we put it out with a garden hose and some fire extinguishers. That's why we started the fire department in 1986.
Okay. And what was all involved in starting that fire department?
Well, I'll tell you what we didn't have. We didn't have any equipment. We started with one fire truck and rubber boots from Walmart and used gear until we got enough money together to buy some equipment.
Okay. And how long did it take y'all to do that?
Geez, I think they started in '85, and we finally we fought our first fire on October 31st of 1986,
Cool.
Halloween night.
What kept you doing it? Because that had to be a big struggle to start a fire department. So what kept you going?
I guess what kept us going is the drive to protect the people that live in the community.
Okay. And after you started doing it and you started seeing what all was involved, how'd you get your training? How'd you know what to do?
Well, at first we didn't know what to do. At first we were running in the dark. And eventually we got some training from LSU and then started sending everybody over to LSU to get some classes. Had some professional people from LSU come start teaching us.
And what kept you doing it after you started it? Because you did it for a long time. So what kept you?
Just the fact that I knew that the people in the area needed protection, and was a bunch of guys that were willing to volunteer, put their time in and put their life on the line to help the community out.
Okay. 9/11, that was like a biggie for firefighters. And you had been a firefighter before 9/11 happened. What were you thinking the day 9/11 happened?
What I was thinking was, them poor guys aren't going home tonight, and I'm glad I'm not one of them.
And what did you think about the firemen after it was all over with? What kind of went through your mind?
A whole lot of guys that didn't make it home, and a whole lot of women and had children that they had to raise by themselves now.
Okay. And what's the worst call you've ever been on, or what's the one call that really stands? It might have been a good call. It might not be a worse one. It might have been a lifesaver. But what call really stands out in your mind after all of them that you've run?
See, I think the worst call I ever had, as far as a medical call, was a 7-day-old baby that died in my arms from a car wreck. And I think as far as firefighting, was the day I got trapped in a flashover. And
Tell me about that flashover.
well, Kenny Chauvin and I were going in a house, and we had advanced in the house with a line, and we're looking for the fire. And about that time, somebody opened up the back of the house, and it was in a smoldering stage when we got to it. But when he opened the back of the house and let the air in, it just flashed over on top of, blew all the windows out, and blew the doors out. And I think it scared the people outside on the street worse than it scared us.
And what was going through your mind in that house when all that was going on?
First thing was going through my mind was trying to protect me and the guy that was in there with me. And the second thing that went through my mind is when I got outside, I was going to find the guy who opened that back door.
Okay. one of the craziest things you ever done in the fire department? I know we pull some crazy stunts on each other. What's probably the craziest thing you've done?
Probably the craziest thing I ever did was handcuff Mickey Sharp to the hose tower. Leave him there with a 3-inch nozzle on him for about an hour and a half. With soap on. We took a toilet brush and some soap and washed his behind and left him sitting there for an hour and a half with the nozzle on him.
Okay, what I'm seeing what different careers think of for fantasies and stuff. It's like, what's the wildest thing or something that you've ever wanted to do in your life but you've just never gotten to experience it? If somebody came up to you and said, money's no object, I'm just gonna, whatever your wildest fantasy is, I'm gonna do it for you, what would you want to do?
I'm on the next space shuttle.
Next space shuttle.
Next space shuttle.
Y'all see? All right, cool deal.
Did.
Okay, what tell me that one.
That's probably the worst thing I ever did.
What was it?
Gosh, it was right after Christmas, Eastover Estates. We got a call on a trailer fire, and I lived almost across the road from it, and I could see the glow, and I was the first one on the scene. And when we got there, they told us there was a little deaf boy in the house. The rest of the family had gotten out, and he was trapped in there. And I waited for the fire truck. The fire truck got there, and packed up, and had a line, and was going in the house. And as I was going in the house flashed over, and when it did, it blew me out the window. And I probably flew about 10, 15 feet, landed on my butt, lost my helmet, lost the fire hose, and had to gather my composure and go back, and went in that house looking for that little boy.
And did y'all get the little boy?
No, no.